I like them.
So now I'm out of breath getting my foot up there.
Go Bills.
All right, we can get started. We got everyone.
Everybody's coming. Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. I'm back in the saddle for a month. Todd couldn't be with us because of work, so here I am. We'll jump right into it and skip everything on our normal agenda and turn it over to our guest.
And I'll just by way of background, Padma and I have had some initial discussions about land opportunities in the park for constructing, I won't steal her thunder, but a manufacturing facility for quote-unquote wind turbines, and she'll give you some of the details. I think one of the unique pieces of the project that we can reference as well, but it's kind of had some preliminary activity on it, is given the work that they'd be doing, there's a strong interest in actually placing a wind turbine like you see in the materials that I sent you on the property. The town zoning has some kind of unique requirements around that. So we have had a preliminary meeting around that, but otherwise today is really just a sense to get a sense of Buffalo Renewables and the type of project they're thinking about, and any questions you guys might have. So I'll turn it over to Padma.
Awesome. Sorry, I didn't bring enough for everybody.
Okay.
But I'm Padma Kasturirangan. I'm an electrical engineer. I graduated with my master's from UB a long time ago.
A long time ago.
It's too early in the morning for that. But I've been working in this area since 2011. We've installed wind turbines starting from small farms, 5 kilowatts, all the way up to 250 kilowatts. So our projects are called distributed wind and solar. So it's like putting solar panels on your roof or in your backyard to power your needs. Some of them have excess and they take it to their other meters when needed. So that's what we primarily focus on. I started Buffalo Renewables in 2016, and we have projects all over Western New York. Partnered with this company called Siva. It's a 250 kilowatt wind turbine that's made in India right now. We partnered with them back in 2019 and installed our first 2 turbines in Hamlin, New York. During the pandemic, it was long drawn out because of the pandemic. So we installed the first 2 turbines, and we like their technology very much. They've been making it in India for 20 years, and it's fully certified according to IEC, which is the European standard. And it's the most toughest standard to certify to. As an installer, I continue to support the systems after they're installed, so certification is sort of important to us to make sure that, the turbine will do what it says and it's safe to operate for our clients, because we're not like a wind farm where we install and we don't care about anybody around. It's usually in people's backyards, so we're very concerned about that. And this turbine met all of those requirements, and it's easy to maintain. Our customers that we install them for are very happy. And we see a big market for it, especially with the bill that just got passed federally. There's a lot of interest in, and the market for the whole country has opened up really well. So, and we've been looking to start manufacturing here for a while. We've looked at locations all over Western New York and Erie, Niagara, Genesee counties, because that's where our clients are. And we came across this through Invest Buffalo Niagara. They put out a thing for Erie and Genesee counties, because my office is right down the road, so we didn't know that this existed, and this site got picked up, and it's very interesting to us for a lot of reasons. It's a good location. We have lots of projects around. The wind is good, so if we place a factory here, we want to be able to power it with wind. So the manufacturing facility would be to assemble the turbine, the nacelle itself, not the tower. The nacelle is the top generator that goes on the turbine. We also have a grant from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory to make the blades for the wind turbines. We're actually making the prototype now, and it's going to get tested in Colorado at their lab. in the next couple of months. So we have a lot of those going, and we want to build a factory. Our main requirements are about 10 to 12,000 square feet to start with room to expand. Our biggest issue is we need at least 30 feet of clear height in the building, because to assemble this, it requires a lot of cranes and stuff. We looked at existing buildings, we didn't find anything suitable. That's why we went into searching for land. We essentially need only 3 to 4 acres. There are parcels in the IDA that would meet our requirements, but the town's ordinance says we need a minimum of 10-acre parcel to place a wind turbine. So that's kind of the weird thing, and so we would need the 10-acre parcel. We're okay with that. We think we can expand in the future or come up with better ideas to make use of the land efficiently. But even then, the setback requirements are also kind of weird. We did a preliminary site plan to see where the turbine will sit. That's enough said. So this is all very preliminary. It's just that the turbine has to be 1.5 times the total height from all the property lines, and the total height is 155 feet, so that we'd have to be about 233 feet from all the property lines. We cannot quite meet that anywhere on the parcel. The town ordinance says we need agreements from the neighboring landowners, saying they're okay, not a variance project, which is also kind of new. So I've contacted the DOT on the south. I've contacted them to see if they will give us a letter. They sent my email to another 40 people.
Literally.
And they're all discussing it. A lot of people are looking at it now. If they don't accept, we would need permission from the town, because the road is owned by, is the right-of-way is with the town or owned by the town or something, and Yahoo on the other side. So we're waiting to hear back from people to see if we can place a turbine, and that would decide the extent of whether we buy the whole piece or come to you for a smaller piece or something like that.
Initial question?
Did I miss something?
Tom, as you see it, that is the most likely lot, the 10-acre.
Only because literally the zoning really talks about putting it on a piece not smaller than 10 acres. Never mind some of those other smaller elements of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
of the zoning.
Okay.
Yeah.
The zoning declares 10 acres?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's 233 feet to the top of the nacelle unit or
No,
the top of
it's
the blade?
100. The tower is 100 and it's in meters. It's 30 meters.
Okay.
With the blade to the tip, it's about 154 or 55 feet.
Okay.
But we have to be 1.5 times that from the lines. That's where the 230.
So it's to the top of the blade, not the
Mhm.
nacelle?
Yeah.
Okay. Who would be, you and I haven't talked about this, in terms of, I don't have a good sense of Buffalo Renewable, like, I know how long around you've been around and so on and so forth. From a financial backing perspective, to purchase the land and to build a 10 or 12,000 square foot factory and so on, something that you've already worked through, or?
Yeah, that would be Siva Powers America. We've had discussions with our bank to see if they will be interested in financing this. They are. So again, it all depends on what we ask them for. Do we want to buy 10 acres or 4 acres? Siva Powers America is a joint venture between me and the manufacturing facility in India. They own the IP, and I do the installation, so it's sort of a good match.
What type of other sites are you exploring for your potential manufacturing? Are you exploring private property purchase?
Yeah.
And are there multiple properties in play right now?
Yes, we've looked at the Stamp facility in Genesee County. Again, replacing a wind turbine is the main advantage of being able to do that here would be the main advantage because it qualifies as a rural area, so the wind and the surroundings are really good. Environmentally, there are bird issues and things like that because of the STAM facility, and here we don't anticipate any of those just based on experience with other projects. We've also looked at the Spalding site in Tonawanda. We have an option to purchase that land also. This would just be more convenient.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you sort of describe the anticipated employee number from the non-turbine manufacturing versus what would you need if you had just, I forget your terminology, the gearing or...
Oh, the turbine.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then what would that head count be, and then what would it be if you were able to also do the actual blade?
The tower itself? Oh, the blade is all fiberglass, so it just, that would add an additional 4 to 5 jobs.
Okay.
The turbine itself, the assembly and all of that, over a period of 5 years, we are anticipating about 20 employees.
Okay. 20 on one, 5 on the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the manufacturing layout to build the turbine versus building the blade is a significantly different layout in a building.
Yeah.
You're going to build it initially to be able to do the blade as well?
Yes.
The space,
They will have
to
room
do the
to
blade?
do that, yeah.
Okay.
These blades are not as long as, these are much smaller turbines.
You've got some pictures of them.
Yeah.
Well, they were,
Like this is, we're standing about 20 feet, we're not standing like a mile away, it's that big. The whole nacelle is about this table wide and about this much, that's it.
Okay.
So it'll have stations, at the time we'll have 5 to 10 turbines being built at a time, going through the assembly line, and the blades itself are about a little over 40 feet.
Okay, so the generating unit, the control boards, the structure are pieces you buy and assemble. You're not going to actually manufacture a motor or a circuit board or anything.
Yeah, it uses an ABB generator, a Siemens gearbox.
Okay.
All of that makes it easier for maintenance because we it's easier to replace if there is an issue in the turbine. So you can even if we go out of business, customers can continue to maintain it. It's just off the shelf.
Okay.
if you're interested in a nice Sunday drive, the one I've taken pictures of and sent around is up in Ransomville/Porter on Balmer Road. It was interesting to go see it.
This turbine is actually on River Road in Tonawanda. You can see it from the 190. It's by the Tonawanda Coke facility and all that. It's powering a recycling plant. There are 2 turbines there.
What is your process for changing out the gear oil during your maintenance activities? What is the physical process that you go through to change out the gear oil?
So I just did that recently. So when we install it, it comes with different oil. After 3 months of running, we drain the oil. We have a hose going all the way up to the top of the tower. The first time we drain, it's about 30 gallons, a little less than 30 gallons. We drain the oil and send it for recycling and just replace it. After that, it gets replaced every 5 years or so. But every year we check the oil and send it for testing to make sure it's still okay. Periodically, there's different checks for 1 year, 2 years.
Do you have any secondary containment in place while you're doing the draining in the event of the failure of the hose line or a discharge of the gear oil?
We can shut it off at different points. There's a valve coming out of the generator.
Okay, but anything in the line would, if you had a line failure, anything in the line, even after you shut it off, would theoretically discharge as a result of gravity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So normally the process is just to fill buckets and send the buckets down to contain it. That's the main option, and there are platforms at every level. we'll make sure that it's contained in those platforms.
Okay. Just a thought that you may want to consider some type of secondary containment at ground level
Yeah.
in terms of some type of small boom or some type of sock in the event that it did discharge to ground level and you had an environmental issue.
Yeah.
You might want to consider that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So without major without actual manufacturing of components going on, your power needs are probably moderate.
No, it's mainly the crane, this 10
To run
metric ton crane
Okay.
that uses power. And we would need, it is a 250 kilowatt generator, so we have to test the whole unit.
Oh, so you're gonna test the inside as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
right, okay.
Much easier to test in the ground level than.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Take it, you're not afraid of heights.
No.
Will you make all sizes in the plant here if you were to build here?
No, turbines are very site specific. They're not like solar. They're not modular. This turbine actually is a 50 kilowatt turbine. It's got both a 50 and a 250. So we can adjust the bigger generator using the controller to less than that. So it's got a range of it, but the cost doesn't change. So we would still like to have it at the full rating all the time.
Do you manufacture the smaller ones somewhere else?
No, we don't.
Okay.
So we install turbines by Buffalo Renewables because every manufacturer is specific. If somebody says they can sell you any size turbine or they manufacture it in there, they're just lying. So there's a 10 kilowatt turbine that's made in Oklahoma. That's one of the oldest manufacturers in pretty much the world, and they're still made there. Other than that, there are not a lot of manufacturers in the U.S. This was actually a 100 kilowatt turbine that used to be made in Vermont. They're no longer making it there. They moved it to Italy like three years or so ago. So we're hoping they'll all come back now that the bill is passed and there's actual incentives for manufacturing here. It's a pretty good bill that they passed this time.
So 10 kilowatt is basically the smallest that would be.
Yeah.
And that would be something that would be in a home backyard.
Yeah.
type of setting.
Not quite a backyard. All of these still go in 100 on a tall tower.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on your location. We're not as windy as the Midwest or Europe, so we need at least a 100-foot tower to go on. And the setbacks usually are based on the height, total height. The closest one I've installed is on Old Saunders Settlement Road. Here, that's a 10 kilowatt turbine.
Just down from, say, Waterhouse Water Jet or the fence place.
Fence company,
Go just a little bit past it. It's easy to see if you
Yeah.
want to go see that one.
So we're continuing to maintain those, but it depends on how much energy you need, right? We see people's energy needs are just going up. Where I used to sell a 10 kilowatt turbine, the more electric people go, their power bills are higher. So they need at least a 15 kilowatt now.
For residential.
Yeah, I mean, people are just using more electric. And we sort of have to now, don't we?
So you said the blades are fiberglass. Are they hand laid up in the facility? You have a mold that hand lay the fiberglass? You would hand lay the fiberglass yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's all finished
Yes.
and painted right in the facility?
Yeah.
So basically, rolls of fabric come in, gallons of fiberglass
Yeah.
resin, and you hand lay them up right in the facility?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more technical, so that won't be something that goes first.
Right.
The assembly is the first thing that'll go.
Okay.
You say the towers are also fiberglass?
No, the towers are
Steel.
steel. Yeah, I'm not claiming a fiberglass tower.
Hey, you never know with today's materials.
I have heard of people experimenting, but they're more like additive manufacturing.
Yeah.
Additive is all the 3D printing craze right now.
Any other questions for?
As far as your contacts with the DOT, how has that gone? Did you make a contact right at the site there?
They have an email listed for somebody. I emailed that first, it bounced back, and then I Googled the name, and that person is dead, I think, because somebody screwed up. I haven't updated it. So I called them, and they connected me with an engineer on site.
Okay.
And they connected me with that person connected me with somebody in Buffalo, Patricia and Kelly. I talked to Patricia last week and explained it and sent them the town ordinance that says what we need. They were mostly concerned if we were going to put it on their property. I said, no. Like, no. So they got all of that, I think, and she said she was going to talk to her supervisor and get back to me this week. I haven't heard back yet.
Oh, okay.
And I also let Invest Buffalo know because they're the ones who told us about this opportunity. And they reached out to the Empire State Development, and through that, they're trying to set up a meeting with somebody else in DOT also.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I had a brief discussion with Yahoo, we'll talk about that later on. Town road aside, which obviously you can't jump that, they were supportive of the wind turbine, wouldn't have a problem that like 20 feet of it would be, the fall zone would be on their property. They certainly didn't have any issues with, given its height, that it would do anything to muck up their stuff. But again,
Oh, that's good.
it's still the town road and so on. Yeah, I think, even though, I mean, they consider themselves somewhat green, given the fact that they use wind energy around here so much to cool, yada, yada, but I think they, just in general, as a company, are trying to be a bit more, so even though they wouldn't directly benefit from it, they find it cool that, you know, their neighbor would be, you know, doing this. It kind of fits with them. If you don't know Paul tools around in a gorgeous EV Jaguar, and so, you know, they are sort of into that arena bigger than maybe we'd all think, so.
So
But yeah,
when you have to do an environmental study,
Mm-hmm.
what are usually the biggest problems you run into? Is it avian related?
Not, because it again depends on, the impact depends on the size of the blades and the turbine. These are considered small turbines.
Okay.
So the impact on birds is if it's a huge wind farm, there's multiples that the birds cannot get around.
Okay.
And the length of the blades itself. These rotor diameters and heights are much smaller to have serious impact on bird stuff. So if we do a U.S. Fish and Wildlife study, they have Tier 1, Tier 2 levels. We usually only have to do the Tier 1.
Okay.
And we submit all of the information, we get a review back saying that there's not much of an impact or something like that.
Okay.
We've had one or two sites, one site where we had to do a bat study only because whatever we installed there, we would have had to do it because there was some bat sighting within 10 miles of that property, like 9.7 miles. So
Wow.
you see it bad every night.
yeah. So, and even there, they just didn't want us to remove any dead trees from the property during a certain period. They gave us a
Okay.
take permit.
Yeah, I think it's, like, you would think, quote, New York would be super supportive, and obviously they are about green energy given their, but I find that when it gets down to the ground, whether it's DEC or whoever, they haven't quite gotten the message, or haven't quite drank the Kool-Aid, and their issues remain their issues. I mean,
Well,
it's not specific to this project, but you talked about the stamp plant. I mean, New York's easily invested $2-3 million out there. There's more to be invested. You can't believe their DEC jam-ups are as bad as ours, if not worse, vis-a-vis the GM property. I mean, it's like, wait, what? Like, you know,
What are you gonna do with it if you don't improve anything,
yeah,
right? You spent this money, you
Exactly.
prepped it, you market it,
yeah,
and then you're gonna put up a roadblock
yeah,
that's sort of nonsensical.
yeah. Oh, well, we all know better.
Does SEBA have a North American headquarters?
That would be us, so about.
Oh, it would be you, okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if, in your conversations with the DOT, if they need to reach out to us for,
Okay.
to me about any conversations about the regulations that the town has or
Okay.
what would be required. I'd be happy to help you.
That's when I realized I didn't grab your card. It's like,
Yeah.
what's missing?
You can reach me there. That's
Yeah.
my other office. You can also just call the town hall.
Okay.
You know what? Let me also just give you my cell number, which is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
I asked for a
definitely
conference
is.
call, if they set up something, I'll, know both of you.
Sure.
I was just trying, and I didn't think they'd all respond, and all of a sudden you saw how many
No,
emails
no.
were there.
We're pleasantly surprised, and I think you were smart to get ESD to leverage their strength, because back to my earlier comments, I think quite often that go-between, that entity of trying to facilitate what's a philosophy up here and reality down here is ESD, so that's promising as well, so,
Okay.
yeah.
I will let you know if Rob, uses a schedule for a meeting. Any other questions or thoughts or ideas on what?
What's your timeline in terms of trying to make a determination, I guess, at least your initial timeline? You're hoping to hear from the DOT this week. They say I'll get back to you in a week. I'm not sure what that means from them always, but, when are you hoping to have at least, an answer in terms of whether or not you can?
Ideally, like to start construction by spring.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen in the winter.
Mhm.
And we have a deadline for one of the grants that we wanna apply for this, which is April 1st is the deadline.
Okay.
So we would need to have the permits for the wind project and everything before that. So ideally, as soon as we hear from them, we'll make a decision on financing and all of that, and probably hope to close in 1 to 2 months.
Okay.
Total expenditure for the project?
Including the building construction, about $1.5 million.
Okay. Good, we appreciate you coming in this morning. It's always super helpful to get everybody kind of on the same page, so.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Nice meeting all of you.
Yeah.
One question I would have is, if this doesn't work, would it be possible to buy a smaller piece with working on the town later to convince them or get a?
Vis-a-vis the tower
project?
itself?
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, no, we could, if, the only reason, quote, the 10 happens is the turbine can't happen, then you wanna come back to those other pieces on IDA and Enterprise, sure,
Okay.
for sure.
Or would it be an option to partition this 10-acre parcel? Because if we
So
do,
we'd want to have a little bit of discussion on that in terms of, in the past, I used to be somewhat reticent because I'd sit there and say, oh, geez, it's our only 10 acre. I will say that, over the last 2 years, there are very few excitable, sizable projects that 10 acres makes the cut. It just isn't, we may think it's a sizable piece of property because it's all we got in terms of its size and so on, but to compete with a lot of what Invest throws out there, a lot of times, it's not a sizable piece. So we might have renewed discussion about, the world doesn't come to an end if we do 5 and 5 or something.
Okay.
So, yeah, sure. And like we talked about, we have certainly not had that discussion yet, but we've really been our practice to, when someone's buying a sizable enough number of acres of some sort of volume discount. But again, we haven't had any of those discussions yet, because it's kind of premature, but,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, nice job.
Thanks.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, take care.
When you talk, excuse me, Janine, when you talk about pieces, if you look at the maps you provided.
Yeah.
This 1.83 acres is highly unusable.
Very much so, because that
So
easement.
if we say that, okay, if we want to cut this, you can actually move that turbine east, and then your limit could be this lot line over here, and then you could cut this in half and maybe
Yeah.
make it like 4 and 6.
The only problem is you gotta get, now, I don't know that the Yahoos and NYSEGs are loving it, because that's their substation feeder line to go right
Here?
through here.
Yeah.
So if that was in the fall down zone, I think they'd suddenly be a lot more nervous.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't mention it, I'll mention it now, it's not that big of a deal. You know how few of our parcels we have actually surveyed, like literally one of the only ones we have surveyed is when we were talking about 2 acres here, because these are all fungible parcel lines, there's really nothing, magical about them. I don't know the history of why they're
Right.
what they are. So I had gone out there just because this, central transport, property and around in here has like a bit of a wetland here. And, when you go out there, from here back, it's kind of a wood lot. I don't notice wetland stuff. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm on that parcel or not. So I have reached out and have queued up Wendell for $1,500-$1,700 to survey this parcel, so that for this property, we have a clue, back to your point of, well, where would you be splitting potentially 5 and 5, and what is it? But really, just in general, if we've had 5 entities interested in that property, we've had at least that many, and in reality, I can't ever really provide them with stuff because it's never been surveyed. So that's in the works, as a bit of a backup, but that has been ordered, so we'll have a little bit better to work with. We did share with them the topography, all the depth of bedrock work that we had done on this parcel before, so she does have all that information as well, so.
Would there, since the 10-acre lot is what she had to pick out because of the zoning, what about the space south of the cogen plan? How we've got that
Little corner in there.
awkward, we've got that awkward piece. I mean, if there's ever a usage down there, it seemed like, hey, throw a turbine between the cogen plant and the railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that
we just
big
have
a-
always been sort of a non-starter until we solved the, what do you call it, the lawsuit. But, oh, no, I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities once you're over there. I mean, there's 10-acre parcels all over the place,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean,
even with the various wetlands.
Yeah,
split
we're
up
trying to
and
use the difficult part. the
yeah,
difficult pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, we own it. The part that's up in the air still is the pricing, but we do own it.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And the cogen plant, what on earth would they, disagree with having a
Yeah.
turbine? I mean, you got stacks.
Yeah.
Can't exactly have an appearance in the railroad.
Yeah.
As long
I
as
do
it doesn't
think-
fall on the railroad, what would they care?
One of the things, and she's done a lot of her homework, is, she's looked at wetlands, she's looked at the bird issues, and she first reached out to me, she said, there's a lot of issues. Well, they're all germane to this parcel, given the stuff we've done.
Right.
The early wetlands delineation, the silly northern harrier. So that may be one of the challenges, is that she might get more DECGM up because it's
Part of that.
known versus our original secret and so on there,
Right.
but,
Right.
yeah. All right, well, I appreciate everybody's general interest. I'll continue to work with them and, let you know if they're getting close enough to want to actually put in a formal, application, but,
Sounded like she was in sell mode, trying to sell her idea. She was interested.
oh, for sure. No, I think she definitely is. I mean, I can't tell how much time she's spending on those other properties, but she's stayed in regular contact, and as I said, she took the lead even before I could on DOT, and the ESD idea is a super bright idea, so, yeah. All right, cool. Eric's got to hurry, so.
Yep, we're gonna go fast if we can.
Yeah.
On to, meeting minutes from August the 18th. If everyone's had a chance to look them over, I'll take a motion to accept them from anyone other than, myself or Harry, since
I was
we
here.
were not here.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you,
I'll
Bob.
second it.
Thanks, Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Thank you. Bob, right over to you.
Okay, the only income, statement of cash transactions, the only income for the month was $281 in interest. So if we look at our disbursements, we have our standard town for travel, the copier, we have North Shore, which is our new web hosting service. Lawnsmith was the summer
Brush hogging.
activity, brush hogging, yeah. MRB Group is the new analysis software that we received. Our quarterly payment tonight, and then Essentials Design was a number of miscellaneous things, January through March. January through March? Okay, January
I
through
think
March,
she was
right.
in Florida or something, didn't
So total disbursements, 8237 for the month of August. If we go to the income statement, you'll see the same interest on the way in. The administrative expense is a combination of the numbers on the previous page, management fee, meeting expense, operations, building, utilities, and rent is the
brush hogging.
the brush hogging and and NICIC, right.
Mhm.
And then advertising and promotion was MRB and
That's,
the,
it's just anything.
so, total loss for the month, 79.55, 79.56, rounding off. Year to date, we're still looking at a positive 35.257, which is, of course, good news. Balance sheet, checking account 101.480, savings 1,652.526. Prepaid, constant contact, prepaid, constant contact is there. We have our bonds and the accrued money for the litigation. So total liabilities, investment, fixed assets, and fund balance, 2767,820. And that is the report for the month of August.
Anyone have any questions for Bob? I'll take a motion to accept.
So moved.
Ellen,
Second.
me, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
As we look at the approval for the checks for the month of September, probably the shortest list I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Our town bill and Tom's August mileage for $53. So I would like to make a motion to pay our bills.
Thank you, Bob. Can we have a second?
Second.
Me, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Tom, we'll throw it to you.
I'll be quick, just if you have one, or two very small items for exact, but, team assistant, I'm keeping an eye on the work out there. Again, he's really, quote, just a tenant, but he's busted up his, floor out there. He's redone some of the electric. He has contracted for the new floor to be, poured and all with the same, Juliana group that's done some stuff down the street for, Beisenbach, so plugging along if you are out there. I mentioned before that, there was an opening in the Poly One Avient plant manage. I haven't met him in person yet, but we have a lot of email exchanges. The new plant manager is gonna be Tom Madej, M-A-D-E-J. Ironically enough, after his first week here, he contracted COVID, which knocked him out, so we've yet to meet in person yet. Worked with the city of Lockport to get some of their pilot project tax bills out and just making sure that a couple of the dicey ones were correct. We are going to be doing a really small ad, $340 in the Business First book of lists, nothing crazy. I did go to the Commercial Realtors Summer Meeting highlights. Helpful in meeting some of the commercial realtors like Tudor Collins, that Gunnar Tronalone from Hunt that does a lot in Lockport. In fact, he claims he's got significant interest both for the hospital and for a Presbyterian home, so I'd keep your eyes open, ears open on that. But it was definitely productive in terms of getting to meet a lot of the commercial realtors that are active in Lockport. Did attend last Wednesday, I think, the Lockport Memorial Hospital initial fundraiser. The only noteworthy thing was they premiered their kind of video and the pictures of the work that's been done to date on the project. I think you've probably seen in the press that the Invest Buffalo, ESD, a number of other parties, Goodwill, UB, et cetera, I guess was successful in winning one of the Build Back Better awards. They really had put a lot of eggs in a $100 million award that had a number of significant elements to it. I suppose if you want to consider it a bit of a setback, they were, quote, only awarded $25 million, but I still think they were one of maybe 21 out of 500 that was awarded dollars. It's a little troubling to me, although not surprising to me, that it's got a lot of east side focus to it, some continued development on the Northlands corridor, but some good workforce training, both by Goodwill and by kind of beefed up Northlands training. It's just a question of, can Niagara County businesses benefit from Buffalo-based people that are trained? Are they willing to come out to Niagara County and so on? But when you realize how few communities or proposals were actually funded, I think it is a win. Folks think it has us better positioned for one of those CHIP awards that's still out there, if you will. Quick park update. It's funny, up north, most things really, as opposed to any sort of signage, but I do now notice small signage on their door on the way in, so who knows why they needed to do that. Yahoo has only gone to voluntary return to the office, which I know this will surprise all of you with all millennials. They've had very few takers on the voluntary return to the office. Paul's out there a bit more. And then on Bison Bag, there's electric work going on now. I think he told me next week the HVAC work begins, but there's still a lot to do. There's no, parking lot or blacktopping of the things. I haven't asked them what their kind of target completion date is, but that's all I have.
Cool. Any questions for Tom before we move forward? They, the Malasani project, I mean, he was a challenge to get into a place, but he seems to have not hit any real roadblocks now that he's in. He seems to be moving along.
He is. He's kind of his typical self in terms of, he'd get a bid on something and suddenly say that's too much money and do it himself, or, no, literally. But, no, I think fine. He has not asked for any kind of support yet, I think, because it's all super reliant on whether or not he's successful with this prototype with the oil and gas industry. Otherwise, I think he knows that the investment's been nice, but, with the 1.5 or 2 jobs and stuff, it really doesn't kind of fit our profile. But we've been helpful in some minor other ways, just in terms of connecting him with folks or the town, helping on a couple things, so.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Anything on the attorney side that we need to take care of now, Tom?
No, probably just some brief conversations in executive.
Okay. So we'll just skip over old and new. We don't have anything listed, so we will take a motion to go into executive. Right. Next meeting, Thursday, October 13th. If people have a conflict, let Tom know, since we do usually have at least one absence. We just always want to make sure we got a quorum, and we can reposition the date if we need to.
Yeah, I won't be here for
You really won't.
that. I will not.
All right.
I have an appointment, 8:45.
We're already down one.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right.